Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. The Taliban have rejected U.S. allegations that they intend to break the Doha peace deal. Earlier, 3 U.S. intelligence officials said the Taliban have no intention of honoring the deal. In a tweet, a Taliban spokesperson, Sohail Shaheen, said the assertions made by American officials are not justifiable. Disputing the intelligence officials' position, Shaheen said the peace agreement is being implemented at a satisfactory pace so far. Washington and the Taliban signed a peace agreement on February 29th to end the 19-year-old Afghan war. Meanwhile, a member of the Logar Provincial Council and his 3 guards have been killed in a shooting in Afghanistan's capital, Kabul. No one has claimed the responsibility for the attack yet. Police say Nasir Ghairat was targeted near his home in the Karteno area in PD8. They said his driver was also wounded in the attack. Police said the incident is under investigation. Ghairat was also the former head of the Logar's Provincial Council. After the Delhi riot, sit-ins against the Citizenship Act have sharply surged across India. 83 people, mostly Muslims, have been killed in protests and rallies against the BJP's new law. The officials say 291 new protest sites have emerged on the model of Shaheen Bagh in the last 60 days. The officials said, like in New Delhi, these protests can lead to communal riots and violence. Hundreds of women are conducting a sit-in at a 1-kilometer stretch of a 6-lane highway crossing through Shaheen Bagh in Delhi. Protesters have refused to end the protest until the withdrawal of the Citizenship Amendment Act. In India, Muslims have become refugees in their own country after being targeted by Hindu extremists in New Delhi riots. Today, hundreds of Muslims are living in camps at the Mustafabad open prayer ground. Forced to flee their homes after being attacked by their fellow citizens, these people no longer have anywhere to go. Look at the appalling plight of New Delhi's Muslims in this report.
The rise of Hindu extremism in India has left Muslims extremely vulnerable. After being targeted in sporadic cow lynchings for years, Muslims have now been attacked for protesting against the controversial Citizenship Amendment Act. New Delhi's appointed commission has even confessed to this, revealing that the riots were one-sided and pre-planned to inflict maximum damage on Muslims. The fear of violence has now forced many Muslims to change their appearance and even their names. Over 1,000 Muslims have taken refuge in an open prayer ground in New Delhi's Mustafabad area.
I was fleeing from our burning house. By the time I went to save my child, he received some burn injuries and I took him and ran to the rooftop. Our neighbors saved us by physically pulling us from our rooftops to theirs.
One victim, Hazra Begum, remembers men chanting Hindu slogans as they hacked, battered and burned Muslims to death.
My heart aches so badly thinking of our homes. They burned everything. We are going from pillar to post, but our hearts are aching at the thought of our homes. The conditions here at the relief camp. We can't live here, but there is nothing left of our homes either. There are no clothes left to wear, nor bed sheets to sleep on.
The New Delhi hospital list discloses that over 50 people, mostly Muslims, died in last month's riots. Critics blame Indian Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu nationalist ruling party for stirring animosity against Muslims.
In Malaysia, the palace has denied allegations of a royal coup in appointing Prime Minister after Mahathir Mohamad resigned. It was responding to accusations that the king overturned election results by naming Muhyiddin Yassin as the PM, despite the opposition claiming a majority. In a statement, the palace said the king used his discretionary powers as prescribed in the constitution. Muhyiddin was sworn in last Sunday as the head of the government. He is expected to unveil his cabinet early next week. He has postponed the start of parliamentary proceedings by 2 months amid opposition efforts to challenge his government with a confidence vote. The country plunged into political turmoil after Mahathir Mohamad resigned last month in a surprise move. Italy has quarantined at least 16 million people in the Lombardy region and 14 other provinces as its coronavirus death toll tops 230. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte says the lockdown will last until early April. More in this report.
As the world scrambles to contain the fast-spreading new coronavirus, depleting resources to aid prevention pose a major challenge. South Korea has limited the number of masks each person can buy each week. Argentina has reported its first death from coronavirus, the first fatality in Latin America. More than 50 deaths were recorded during the past 24 hours in Italy, as the number of confirmed cases jumped by 1,200. The Italian Prime Minister says tough measures to contain the new coronavirus are essential.
We want to guarantee the health of our citizens. We understand that all these measures will create inconveniences. We understand that these measures will impose sacrifices, sometimes small and sometimes very big. But this is a time where we must take responsibility for ourselves. We need to understand that all of us need to adhere to the measures.
After the state of California, New York's governor has declared a state of emergency as the number of infections rise. The U.S. is also tracking a cruise ship that may have shared crew members with a ship carrying people who tested positive for coronavirus.
We are tracking at this point a ship that may have shared crew with the Diamond Princess or the Grand Princess. And we have taken decisive action to hold until we do a full medical assessment of the crew on that ship, and will just continue to lean into this effort.
In China, a hotel being used as a quarantine facility in Quanzhou city collapsed, trapping dozens underneath. The World Health Organization says more than 100,000 people worldwide have now contracted the virus. More than 3,000 people have died in China, mainly in the Hubei province where the outbreak originated.
Moving on to Iran, where a health ministry spokesman has reported 49 more deaths from the new coronavirus, raising the death toll to over 190. In a televised speech, he said there were 743 new cases of infected people in the last 24 hours, pushing the total number of infections to over 6,500. Iran has one of the highest number of deaths from the illness outside of China. A number of senior Iranian officials have also died after contracting the virus. Iranians have been warned by the health ministry to avoid all large gatherings and stay home. Meanwhile, the national carrier Iran Air has announced the suspension of all its flights to Europe until further notice. 10 people have died while 24 remain trapped under the rubble after a hotel in China's Guangzhou city collapsed. Officials say over 70 people were being quarantined in the 7-story building when it collapsed. The Ministry of Emergency said authorities had rescued 43 people, with 36 of them sent to a hospital. State media says the first floor of the building was under renovation. The Saudi-led coalition says it has launched a military operation against the Houthi rebels in Yemen's western Hudaydah province. The coalition said it targeted Houthi sites because they pose a threat to maritime navigation and international trade in the Bab al-Mandab Strait. The coalition said they have destroyed some Houthi sites that were used for manufacturing explosive-laden boats and drones in the Salif district. It also asked the civilians in the village not to approach the targeted sites until the military operation was completed. Yemen has been engulfed in an ongoing armed conflict between pro-Saudi forces led by President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi and the Houthis since 2015. The European Union has called for the immediate release of Siham Sarjiva, a member of Libya's parliament, kidnapped by Khalifa Haftar's forces. In a statement, the EU said it remains strongly committed to promoting equal rights and opportunities for women and men. The statement also called upon relevant authorities to assume their responsibility and investigate Sarjiva's abduction. In July 2019, unidentified gunmen kidnapped Sarjiva from her home in Libya's eastern city of Benghazi. They took her to an unknown location and shot her husband. Donald Trump shocked the world when he became president of the United States in 2016, but many who supported him back then aren't sticking with him 4 years later. This includes one Detroit-based Muslim cleric who has now declared his support for Democrat Party candidate Bernie Sanders. The details in this report.
One of Donald Trump's most controversial campaign promises was banning Muslims from entering the US. As such, it would seem unlikely that an American Muslim would ever support him. But that's exactly what Imam Husham al-Husseini did after believing Trump's pledge to destroy ISIS. He now regrets his decision.
So he voted. He voted to remove ISIS, to fight ISIS, mean terrorist. So I supported him. Okay. But now it looks like somehow, some way, whether he recognized or not, his policy is supporting ISIS somehow, some way. Unfortunately.
Today, Imam al-Husseini supports Democrat Party candidate Bernie Sanders, citing his humanist values. He even talks about issues faced by the working class in his Friday sermons now.
Well, actually, our hearts leaning toward Mr. Sanders. Even though he's a Jew, we are Muslims, most of us, but the values that he is asking for and calling for, it is a universal value. It's for the middle class people, for the poor people, for the change.
Sanders is known for having a strong base with the American youth, but this wasn't enough to pull him through on Super Tuesday, when he trailed behind the only other Democrat candidate in the race, Joe Biden. But if Imam al-Husseini's Islamic Center is anything to go by, American Muslims could easily emerge as strong Bernie supporters.
It's a time for a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. 115 migrants have been rescued in the Mediterranean Sea as they attempted to cross into Spain from Morocco. Spain Rescue Services said they found two boats stranded at a sea near Malaga port. Members of the Spanish Red Cross helped migrants disembark and provide first aid at a makeshift emergency center. The Interior Ministry says overall sea arrivals of irregular migrants since 29th of February are 29% lower than the same time last year. Authorities said migrants have changed routes to reach Europe due to increased security in the Mediterranean Sea. Thousands of asylum seekers from Africa and the Middle East embark on the dangerous journey by sea every year to make it to Europe. 32 people have been killed in an accident on road connecting Syrian capital Damascus to Homs province. The Interior Ministry says 77 others were injured as brake failure caused a fuel tanker to crash into 15 vehicles and 2 buses. The ministry said the buses were carrying several Iraqi passengers. The officials said the victims are believed to include Shiite pilgrims visiting holy shrines near the capital. Footage aired on state media showed rescue teams deployed around the mangled remains of the vehicles. In Pakistan, the death toll from the 5-story building collapse in the port city of Karachi has risen to 26. Rescue services said 5 more bodies were taken out from under the collapsed building's debris. The rescue operation continued for a 4th straight day, with authorities barring families of the missing from going near the building. Yesterday, 3 bodies were recovered on the 3rd day of the rescue operation in the affected area. The residential building had fallen onto adjacent structures, bringing them also to the ground. A case has also been registered at a Karachi police station over the collapse of the building. International Women's Day is being marked around the globe today. The day celebrates women's achievements and increases visibility in the public sphere while calling out inequality. More in this report.
Hundreds of thousands of women have gathered in cities across the world to mark International Women's Day. In Peru's capital, Lima, thousands of women called for justice to be done for female victims of violence and murders in the country.
We are all demanding justice, equality, for there to be no more exploitation of women, no more femicides, murders. We are looking for justice for all women.
In Mexico, women performed an anthem condemning the killings of women, channeling anger along with hope for justice. Femicides have risen 137% in the last 5 years, and recent cases have drawn outrage for their brutality.
I wake up every day and I see on Facebook, Twitter, on the news, on the radio. I get into a taxi and I hear that bodies keep on being found, women who are killed. So this is a feeling of anguish that I have, of anger. but I also have a lot of hope that this movement could blossom.
In the Spanish capital of Madrid, dozens of women performed A Rapist in Your Path. The song has gone viral after it originated in Chile, turning into a mighty global war against sexual violence. In the UK, Duchess of Sussex Meghan Markle encouraged school children to support women's empowerment, social justice, and gender equality issues. International Women's Day has occurred for well over a century, with the first gathering in 1911 supported by over 1 million people.
In Afghanistan, a business venture has not only given women a chance to be independent, it is also making sure to save the environment. Zero-carbon mobile food carts in Kabul are a delicious treat for the residents. More in this report.
Covered with a full-body garment, 30-year-old Maryam Mohammadi was once in Pakistan as a refugee for many years to escape the war in Afghanistan. Now in Kabul, she sells dairy and food and is the only breadwinner for her family. She says this job is very crucial to improve life and hopes to continue working.
I'm so tired of conflicts and bombings. If there will be a peace and stability in our country, then no family will be left unattended, and the children and the rest of the people will not get killed anymore. We just want lasting peace in Afghanistan.
27-year-old Farhad Wajdi, who founded this rickshaw business, aims to expand it all over the country to provide job opportunities for more women.
Right now, we have manufactured 25.
The Consul General of Thailand, Thatri Shuavachata, says trade between Islamabad and Bangkok have jumped to $1.5 billion in 2019. The Thai envoy was addressing a meeting at Lahore Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thai envoy said Pakistani export to Thailand recorded an increase of over 41% in 2019, which included garments and textiles. Shuavachata said Thailand have exported goods and services worth nearly $1.2 billion to Pakistan last year. He said 4 major Thai companies had already invested in Pakistan, while another 4 are exploring new opportunities. Shares in the energy-dependent Gulf have plunged to multi-year lows today after OPEC and its allies failed to clinch a deal on production cuts. All other Gulf markets also tumbled as oil prices continue being hit by the novel coronavirus over the past month. The Saudi stock market dived by 7.7% minutes from the opening bell after oil prices closed near a 4-year low on Friday. Shares in oil giant Saudi Aramco dropped below their IPO price of $8.85 for the first time, losing some 6%. The slide on the Saudi market came amid reports of high-level arrests in the ruling family. The Dubai financial market shed 8.5% at one point, its worst decline in 6 years, before recovering slightly. Its sister market in Abu Dhabi also lost 7%, while Qatar Stock Exchange dropped 3.5%. The tiny markets of Bahrain slid 3% and Oman dropped by 1.1%. Time to take a look at the weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News. Thanks for watching.